Hello, welcome to the Podcast Engineering Show. My name is Chris Curran. I produce podcasts for companies and I teach at Podcast Engineering School. Every week on this show, we bring you podcast production techniques on a silver platter. We alternate between interviews with podcast producers and engineers and Daily Goody episodes like this one, where I'm going to talk about 10 of the Daily Goody blog posts that I write every day. And you can actually get these Daily Goodies in your email. You can get it daily or a weekly roundup. You just sign up at podcastengineeringschool.com. That's the website. And the next semester of Podcast Engineering School starts in September. So if you're considering it, and I just want to tell you a few things about the Focusrite Scarlett series of audio interfaces. Right? They're now on their third generation of Focusrite Scarlett interfaces. It's the world's best-selling USB interface range with over 3 million units sold. Right, Barry?
Yeah.
And you can choose from 6 different interfaces depending on the number of microphone inputs you need. If you need to plug in 1 microphone, 2, 4, 8. They have different interfaces for all your needs. And the sound quality is really great, right, Barry?
Yeah.
Yeah. And works with any software that you're already using. And it works with any type of XLR microphone because there is phantom power. So if you have a condenser mic, you can plug it in. And they also have the Loopback. It's like a little app. It's called Loopback, which you can actually use in your computer to record Skype or Zoom guests directly into your software with no workarounds. So that's pretty cool. You can record your guests on a separate track. Right, Barry?
Yeah.
And and of course the air button. The air button. I don't know if it was inspired by Michael Jordan or not, but either way, the air button adds brightness and presence and a really nice high-end clarity to your voice. So anyway, that's the Focusrite Scarlett third generation interfaces. We love Focusrite. Definitely click the link in the description. There'll be a link with more information. So click that link. And thank you, Focusrite, for being our sponsor. This is actually the last Focusrite ad I'm doing. I've done, I think, 8 ads over the last year, and this is the last one. So thank you, Focusrite, for sponsoring the show. And I just love Focusrite, including one of the newest plugins that I'm using, which is the Focusrite SC channel strip. The SC stands for Studio Console. Anyway, it's an amazing channel strip plugin. All right, but on this episode, we're going to talk about the Daily Goodies. We're going to go through about 10 of them that I posted between May 22nd and June 4th. And I know it's the end of July, but, I'm a couple months behind. Or there's a lag. I'm not behind. There's just a lag. So one of the cool things about the lag is, for instance, the first Daily Goody we're going to cover, which was from May 22nd, if you were signed up for the emails, that means you probably read it on May 22nd. But now, 2 months later, you're going to hear me actually talk about it a little bit too. So it's reinforcement. That's what we're calling it, reinforcement. All right, so May 22nd, let's get started. By the way, May 22nd is my grandma's birthday. She would be, oh boy, how old would my grandma be now? I think 111. But she passed away many years ago. Anyway, hi Grandma, love you. All right, so this Daily Goody is actually a video that we did. This was amazing. 5 experienced podcasters give a guided tour of their post-production software and processes. That's right. I got on video 5 experienced podcasters, and they showed us on the screen how they go through all their post-production. It's really awesome. Brian Ensminger, Jason DeFilippo, Brad Hargis, Steve Stewart, and Marcus DePaula. These guys are great. So definitely go. And it's also on... it's actually on the Podcasters Lounge YouTube channel. But anyway, if you go to the podcastengineeringschool.com website, the Daily Goody from May 22nd, you'll be able to watch it right. It's embedded on that page. But that was an awesome stream. I think we did it in like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, or maybe an hour and 15. I don't know. It's not that long, but it's great. It's like a nice overview. All right, next Daily Goody. Additional features and capabilities of your software, plugins, and hardware. Okay, so additional features and capabilities. Here's the thing. You probably use several different audio software, and so do I. And each of these softwares have so many features and capabilities that we never even use, right? There's too many things that the software does, we can never actually take advantage of it all. But the cool thing is, some of those features could probably save you time and improve the quality of your production. So it's a good idea, if you haven't done it yet, just to watch some tutorials and training videos focused on your particular software. Because there's always more to learn, and it's just like learning a little bit as you go is really great. So even I do that. I'm always watching videos on the plugins and Reaper, which is the DAW that I use. So just keep learning little things about your software, because, man, it's hard to even imagine how much capability and functionality a lot of this software has. It's amazing. It's mind-blowing. So anyway, next Daily Goody, Echo versus Reverb. So I actually got a question from, I can't remember who it was from. It might have been on social media or email, but the question is this. It's actually a two-part question. Is a voice echo and reverb the same thing or similar? Actually, let's focus on that. Just the echo and reverb. Are they the same thing or are they similar? And my answer was, echo is when you stand near a cliff and yell, "Echo!" And then 2 seconds later, you hear your voice reflected saying, "Echo," right? And that's an echo. It's like a 2 or 3 second delay, usually. You say something, you wait, and then it echoes back off of the cliff, right? And by the way, to recreate this effect, you would use a delay effect and just put a 2 or 3 second delay, and then you'll say "echo" and wait 2 or 3 seconds, and it'll repeat it. That's echo. Reverb is when you're in a room with reflective surfaces and the mic picks up a lot of these reflections, and it makes the audio sound like it's far away or in a very large space. Or sometimes it can even sound like the person is speaking from like 50 feet down a hallway, something like that. That's reverb. It's not the echo. It's not the delay effect. It's just reverb, like if you hit a snare drum in a big room, you hear. I don't know. Does that was that? I think that was pretty lame, but anyway, I think you get the idea. All right, so that's the difference between echo and reverb, and of course, you can add them in post, which for podcasting you wouldn't. You wouldn't really do that, but that's what they are. And now reverb, by the way, there are some software that can remove reverb. Removing echo is just not possible. I mean, it may be, it's just, yeah, it's really, practically speaking, it's not possible. So, all right, let's move on to the next Daily Goody, the Sennheiser E835 microphone. This is a handheld microphone. It's a dynamic mic. It just looks like any other mic you would see a singer on stage holding. And it's a dynamic mic. It's about $100, and I bought 4 of these when I first set up my physical podcast studio in New Jersey back in 2012, and I really liked them. And you may have heard the story, but to pick what microphones I was going to buy, I went to my local Guitar Center and I brought a little handheld recorder with me, and I literally asked them to try out like 3 or 4 microphones. And one by one, I plugged them into my recorder and I talked into it. "Hello, Tess, this is me talking into the Sennheiser E835. How does it sound?" And then I would switch mics, and so I recorded little snippets of all 4 mics, and then I listened back right in the store while I was standing there in the store. I brought headphones, everything. And then I listened back to my 4 recordings, and then I chose what mic I wanted to buy based on how they sounded. And I picked the Sennheiser E835. I know the Shure SM58 was one of the other microphones, and I can't remember the other 2. But anyway, it's a great handheld mic, $100 dynamic handheld mic. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with the Shure SM58 at all. That's a classic mic. You can't go wrong with that mic. But it's just the Sennheiser E835 Had a little hotter output, actually. And the tone was a bit different, but similar. All right, let's move on. Next Daily Goody is the RØDECaster Pro Accessories. Well, you've probably heard of the RØDECaster Pro. It's been out for a while now, almost a couple years, I think. It's the one unit that you can record a bunch of tracks and plug in a bunch of mics and all that. And it's an interface and a recorder. Anyway, the RØDECaster Pro is a really nice unit. And they came out with accessories, some helpful accessories. And actually, I'm going to click my link and tell you what the accessories are real quick. Basically, there's some adapters for converting headphones from 3.5 millimeter to 1/4 inch. There's some XLR ID. I don't know what that is, but it's basically these colored rings that you can affix to any XLR plug. And so it helps you identify cables. So if you have a bunch of cables, you can sort of attach these colored rings, and then you know what cable is what, which is really handy, by the way. If you ever have like 3 or 4 cables, and then you sort of unplug 1 or 2, and then you're like, oh wait, which one is this? Is it that? Do I plug this into number 2 or number 3? Right? So if you have them color coded, it makes it really easy. And there's other adapters too. Oh, the DC USB 1. It's a power cable that allows the RØDECaster Pro to be powered from any compatible USB output, making it entirely portable. So that's pretty handy. Anyway, they're just small accessories, nothing major. I just thought it would be a nice daily goodie for those folks who do own a RØDECaster Pro. And if you don't own one and you're thinking about it, it's kind of cool that there's accessories like that. All right, next one. Oh, well, this is my episode with Ray Rayburn, which was episode 184. I hope you heard that one. That was a great episode. I can't even overview what it was about because we talked about so much. Ray's such an awesome guy. Anyway, check out that episode. Next Daily Goody. When a guest's non-participating colleague wants to join a recording session to listen in. Yeah, I'll read that again. When a guest's non-participating colleague wants to join a recording session to listen in. You know, sometimes, you'll book a guest on a show and they'll be like, oh, can my publicist and my assistant also be on the session? They're not going to talk. They're going to be completely silent. They just want to be there during the recording just to listen in. And okay. Usually it's not a big problem, but when I sound check for the session, when I sound check the host and the guests and everybody, I actually do ask these people who just want to listen in, I make sure that their internet connection is very good and solid. And if it's not, if they're on a shaky internet connection, then I ask them, is it absolutely necessary for you to be on this session during the recording? And of course, the answer is usually no, right? They don't have to be there for the actual recording. I mean, we could send them the recording later or something. They don't have to be on the session, right? They're not speaking. So usually they say, well, no, I don't really have to be here, but I'd like to be here. And that's when I usually recommend, again, if they have if their internet connection is not great, I recommend that they not be part of the recording session. Because, and here's the main reason, in my experience, sometimes one participant's bad connection can actually cause problems with the entire session. I've used Zencastr for years, and sometimes that would happen where one person's connection was bad, and they would constantly drop off and come back and drop off and come back, and then weird stuff would start happening in the session. And it's like, I don't know if that's the thing that's causing the weird stuff, but anyway. Also, by the way, for Squadcast now, which Squadcast is what I use to record guests now, with Squadcast, if one of those people drops off, Squadcast stops recording everyone. The whole thing stops, which I wrote a pretty honest daily goody and review of that feature / bug a few weeks ago, because I think that's absolutely crazy that Squadcast will actually just stop the recording if someone drops off the session. That's just insane to me. But okay, if that's the way Squadcast wants it to be, then we as producers, we have to be aware of that. So that's another reason why you don't just want people on the call listening in, because if they drop off, the whole recording stops. So anyway, you might not come across those exact scenarios, but I think that's good info to have if you're a podcaster or a producer. All right, next Daily Goody. How many more do we have to do? Oh, we're going to June 4th. So this is from June 1st. This is the Oxford Inflator V3. Yeah, the Oxford Inflator V3. This is a plugin from Sonox, and this is like one of my new favorite plugins that I use on everything. I know you've probably heard me say that a lot over the years, but it is. It's a weird plugin, meaning it's not just a straight-ahead EQ or a straight-ahead compressor. This plugin actually increases the loudness, the perceived loudness of someone's voice without sacrificing sonic quality or dynamic range. So it can add power and presence to someone's voice without the pumping of compression. So it's kind of like a compressor, but it's not really. It's really hard to describe this plugin, but one thing is when you turn up the amount of the plugin that you use, the person's voice definitely feels closer and louder and more audible, more easily heard, right? Because that's a problem with audio production is like if you don't use enough compression, the person's voice will seem like it's farther away. So compression brings it closer, and this Oxford Inflator V3 also brings it closer. It's really nice. It also adds some harmonics, I think, depending on the settings. So anyway, I actually love it. I forget how much it costs. I don't think it's cheap, but all right. Next Daily Goody is the audio quality of guests connecting via Zoom. Yeah, Zoom.us. You know, Zoom, the webinar service that everyone and their mother is now using to record podcasts. Well, what's the audio quality like on there? In a word, terrible. It's really bad. It's just not good. And they even have a button in Zoom that says turn on original sound. Turn on original sound. It makes you, when you click that button, it makes you think that, ooh, we're going to get the original high quality sound, but you still don't. It's still not really good quality. It's very grainy and compressed. If it was a picture, I'd say it was like pixelated. It's just not good quality audio. And I know because of COVID, everybody, you know, it's by the way, Zoom is a very user-friendly platform. It's very easy to use. And I'm sure that's why a lot of people are using it for podcasts. But in terms of audio quality, it's really not good. It might be the worst way to connect and record. It's because it's probably worse than Skype. Skype is usually pretty bad. And I don't know, is there any other, can you think of any others that are worse than Skype and Zoom? Besides the phone? Well, how about a phone call on Skype? There you go. Or a phone call on Zoom, I guess would be the worst. Okay, let's move on. And again, I'm not bashing Zoom. That's a great service. I pay for it every month. I conduct my classes for podcast engineering school over Zoom. I have meetups over Zoom. We do meditations over Zoom. I use Zoom a lot. It's great. But in terms of audio quality, bad. Okay, moving on. A recent hearing impaired guest. Yeah, so one of my clients had a hearing impaired guest on, and when I was sound checking them, the hearing impaired guest was using earbuds, and I heard the earbuds feeding back within themselves. Like a lot of earbuds do that. You're probably familiar with this. Like someone who is using earbuds, when they turn up the volume of their earbuds in their ears too loud, somehow it feeds back into their microphone. And it's not an audible feedback. It's like it's within the wires of their earbuds. There's some weird feedback thing. So if someone's using earbuds, you always got to make sure that they're not listening at a very loud volume because it might feed back. You'll probably hear it if they are listening at a loud volume. So I asked this person if she could turn down her volume a little bit in her ears, turn down the volume of her earbuds. And then she informed me that she was hearing impaired and that she needed to have her earbuds cranked up all the way. And I said, okay, that's no problem. So the solution, well, I turned on the echo cancellation in Squadcast. And this is a good scenario to use the echo cancellation in Squadcast. It's really a perfect situation. So we turned on the echo cancellation, and that's it. We didn't hear any more echo from her. Now, an important note, when you use echo cancellation in any app, not just Squadcast, if you use echo cancellation, this is what normally happens. When the guest is talking, the host will do the classic, mm-hmm, uh-huh, uh-huh, oh, okay, mm-hmm, yeah, And every time the host utters one of those sounds, the guest's audio gets ducked, meaning it basically gets muted for like a second. And then you miss like 1 or 2 words or 3 words. It's terrible. So if you are using echo cancellation anywhere, ever, just the host of the show has to be aware that if they do this thing, it's basically going to ruin the audio of the guest. So that's why, and again, well, really, that's why you never want to use echo cancellation. You always want people to wear headphones and do it properly, meaning connect properly, wear decent headphones, and you never have a problem. But the problem is, of course, with guests who don't know anything, who have no equipment, and do recording over the internet, there's there's problems that can arise, and so you need the echo cancellation for those situations. But in reality, you never want to use echo cancellation. You just never want to have to turn it on, but sometimes you do. All right, this is the last one. FabFilter Saturn 2. Yeah, so this FabFilter Saturn 2, it just came out recently, probably in the last 3 months. So FabFilter Saturn has been around for many years, and Saturn, well, and now Saturn 2 is a distortion and saturation plugin. So, and for podcast production, you would pretty much just use it for saturation, right? We don't need any distortion. But saturation really helps to make things sound smoother and more professional and just more pleasing to the ear. And there's all types of different saturations in Saturn 2, like tape saturation, transistor saturation, all different kinds, and they sound a little different. It's really very cool. Of course, FabFilter makes great plugins, but Saturn 2 is really cool. It's not a plugin you need, for sure. You don't need Saturn 2, but if you want, if you were looking for like a good saturation plugin, it is really good. So, all right, well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about podcast production ever, like today or tomorrow or a year from now, just send me a note. Go to podcastengineeringschool.com and go to the contact page and just send me a little note there. And if you want to express any feelings or questions or gratitude or anything, send me a note. I really like hearing from my listeners because, you know, a lot of time when a lot of time goes by and you don't hear from any listeners, it's a kind of a weird situation. Like for instance, in my case, I'm trying to put out a good show. I'm trying to give good information and I'm trying to help all you guys. And so when months go by and I don't hear anything, I mean, I always get occasional notes from people or tweets or stuff like that. But I don't know. I really appreciate when you guys reach out and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm listening and thanks. Or anything, actually. If you have criticism of this show, please let it fly. I want to hear all your criticism. Please don't hold back. Send me a note. And if you have ideas for the show, if there's things you think I can do better, again, send me a note. Tell me. I want to hear it, actually. It's not, I don't want to be sweet talked and all that. I want to hear the blatant, bold truth. So anyway, hope your podcast production is going well. And send me a note, say hi, Thank you for listening. Thanks to Focusrite for being a sponsor as well. The first and only sponsor of this show ever. And I'm probably not going to take on any more sponsors again. Just because I don't know. I mean, Focusrite was an exception because it's a great company and Dan Hughley is awesome. And if you don't listen to the Johnny podcast, I don't know what you're doing with yourself. Of course, I'm kidding. But thanks, Dan. Go listen to his Johnny podcast. And all right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. We'll see you.